dive deeper into beyond the feed. So this is kind of a series of courses that we've done. So very quickly, it's not going to take more than 5-10 minutes because I want to get to the important stuff that we want to talk about. So this was a class that we had. So this is recorded. You can look for it in the AIU's channel. But basically, I wanted to give you an idea of what is attraction marketing. And it's basically a marketing method that naturally attracts your ideal audience by offering valuable content instead of using paid advertising or direct selling. You're basically getting people to come to you, whereas paid advertising, you're putting things in front of people. So it's a little bit different because it's value driven, relationship based, and it's authentic. And why would people do this, right? Like, why can't you just pay someone to do it? Well, the problem is that it can be costly for people who are just starting out. And you have to spend a lot of money to understand for Facebook, Instagram, and all of these platforms to understand what you need. And the audience is skeptical of traditional marketing. We're going through a revolution of trust right now. People are not trusting people enough when it comes to brands because there's so much out there, and there's been so many people that have been, let's say, burned in the past. So that's why organic marketing is great, because it's cost effective, it builds long-term brand loyalty, it's sustainable, not depending on ad platforms. So if you start to build a following, people continue to come back to you, you're going to be able to get people to be part of your community. And there's less risk because you're not spending so much money on it. And algorithms love content, and they love that you are providing value to your audience, and that's why they want to keep you there. And basically, this is the journey: understanding your ideal audience, identifying the relevant channels where you want your platforms to be, and then delivering on those channels, and then creating this attractive content. Now, we talked about a little bit of these types of content that is organic, anything that has to do with social media, podcasts, YouTube, and that kind of stuff. And then we talked a little bit about building your content strategy so you're consistent, so you're providing value and it's not overwhelming. So one of the things we mentioned was planning. And if you can only do one post per week, start with that. So scheduling and automating things, batching the content, that also helps. And then building your communities. So this is basically, and I'm going to try to move on to the next part, because now that we understand what is attraction marketing, is basically putting out information in front of people so they can come to you. You can educate, entertain them, and being able to be a voice of authority. That way they will follow you and they will want to come to you. But there is a challenge. And before I start to share my screen, I want to know if you know the challenge. What happens when you post too much your own social media? What happens? Are you doing a good job? Or what is really the deciding factor where you should have your audience? Social media, YouTube channels, blogs, or something else? I want to see if you guys, and if you know the title of the class, you will probably get it right. So if you guys know, feel free to put it in the chat before I start to share my screen.
It is your time, ladies and gentlemen. Just give it a try if you truly understand exactly what happens when you use the social medias for marketing. Uh, what is the risk? You can just raise your hand, or you can preferably, like Miss Lenhoff said, put it in the chat box. Emmanuel Assare just did it. He wrote attraction.
Okay.
Who else gonna participate in this uh, activity? Let's go. Me,
Take a
Celia.
guess. I need two more guesses.
Yeah. Can I try, Celia? Yes, go
Yes,
ahead.
please.
Just write it down. Write it down on the chat box. Both Miss Lenhoff and I will be able to see it, and we will read it to the other participants. That's your time, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Lenhoff is expecting one more. Emmanuel Assare is coming back and wrote followers.
I
Uh,
think shock has been here before. So I'm gonna
yes.
call on you. What do you think it is? Oh, you said a lot of feed. Okay, okay, that's a good guess. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen so that you see kind of what this is gonna be about. Can everybody see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so what does the inbox mean? And we're talking about our personal inbox, right? So when we have all of this, we talked about attraction marketing being out there, but there's one type of attraction marketing that it goes beyond and it's even more memorable than anything else that we've talked about. And that is email marketing, email and SMS, because they go hand in hand. You can't over sending SMS messages every day is going to get tiring for people, even if they love your content. But email, it's something that you can do every day. And I'm going to show you why attraction marketing goes beyond the feed. What does that mean? Well, remember, we don't own the platforms. Instagram, Facebook is owned by Meta. Pinterest is owned by Pinterest. So at any time, they can kick you out. I recently went through with LinkedIn. I didn't have my LinkedIn account for a whole month because I think there was a mix up of joining LinkedIn. So I couldn't, they asked me to submit my ID, which I did several times, and I couldn't get my account back. I have like 5,000 connections on LinkedIn. And as you can imagine, that's not good for a business owner. I'm trying to build connections, posting on LinkedIn on a regular basis. Um, I'm engaging with people, and all of a sudden, just because something seems suspicious, LinkedIn just kicked me out of the platform. It took me a month to get it back. I was able to go to a notary, fill out a piece of paper, submit the information via email. I went through a lot to be able to get this account back. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because LinkedIn is not just something that they do and Facebook doesn't have this problem. There's many times that people call it Facebook jail when you send too many DMs to someone because it looks robotic, because you're sending the same messages over and over again. So there is such a thing of people kicking you out of the platforms. I've also gotten YouTube channels removed. Like I had 100 videos in a personal development channel that all of a sudden just were removed. And why am I telling you this? Not for you to feel bad for me. It's the opposite. To take action, to know that posting is very important. Like we talked about, it's about attracting your ideal clients, getting in front of people, starting conversations with people that otherwise you would not be able to meet if it wasn't for social media, if it wasn't for a blog post that where they found and you did SEO, if it wasn't for putting yourself out there. But there's a very important distinction that we need to understand is that we don't own the social media channels. At any time, just like it happened to me, and I was able to get it back, but trust me, a lot of times that does not happen. A lot of times it just gets, the YouTube channels are lost. I had a few subscribers there, but most importantly, the content is lost. And I can either feel sorry for myself or learn from it and know that posting every day is important, but the challenge is getting people to join your email list. So it's all about relationship driven tools to attract and convert clients without having to rely on chasing the algorithm and without having to rely on being able to being out there for people on social. Maybe they're not seeing your content so much. So attraction marketing beyond the feed is why the inbox wins is the key to putting everything together. Okay. So what are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about why social media reach is shrinking and what to focus on instead. How email marketing gives you direct, reliable access to your audience as opposed to posting every day. And maybe I'm going to give you some numbers so that you understand what that means. Why is it not reliable all the time? I'm going to give you the different types of emails that you can send so you're not stuck repeating the same formula over and over again. How to turn your existing content into a powerful email strategy. That way you don't have to come up with content every single time. And most importantly, how to use email to attract, connect, building these relationships, and convert clients without posting every single day. Okay. So don't worry. This is not about doing more, but it's about being smarter with the content that you already have and the audience that you're already building. Okay. Now, before I go in, Dr. Balsin, are there any questions?
I'm doing fine. I don't know if the participants are
Okay.
unclear about anything, but on my end, I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna get started with really what we're gonna, this is really what the social media reality check that we're gonna get started with. But if you guys have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to send them over. And I will continue to monitor the chat. All right. So this is gonna be a surprise to many of you. But when it comes to social media, posting daily is great. But we need to understand our numbers. And one of the reasons why you need to be posting every day is because not everybody is going to see your content. It's an average of 2 to 6%, sometimes lower, of the post, reels, and information that you're putting out there on Meta, on Facebook. It's only seen by 2 to 6% of your followers. Which means that for every 1,000 followers that you have, you get 20 to 60 views from your followers. Now, that doesn't mean that other people don't see your content, which is important. And this is one of the reasons why you can grow, because you don't need to have a million followers anymore, because your content is being spread out to your non-followers. But the key is getting those not followers to get into your email system, because that's the way that you're going to grow your list. The engagement rate is a little bit less than 1%. So that means that for every 1,000 followers that watch your reels or your content, you get about 10 likes or maybe 10 comments if that. But it's not a lot. That's why it's important that, and we're talking about followers. We're not talking about people who are just watching your content that are not followers, okay? So it used to be that the influencers that got a lot of reach were the ones that had millions of followers, and that's not the case. You can have one video in one account following nobody that can get millions of views, not necessarily followers, but millions of views, and that's really what you want. But again, it's not just getting them to watch, it's getting them to come into your email list, right? And when it comes to click-through rate, almost nobody clicks unless they already trust you. It's around 0.2 to 1%. Now, and I'm going to show you why email wins. Well, the open rates with emails, I have to be very clear. There was an algorithm, an update from Apple a few years ago that it was very hard for email service providers to understand who opened up your email, because nowadays Apple created this, there's a privacy war, if you haven't heard about it, between Google, between Apple, between Meta, that they're saying that they want to protect your privacy, but at the end of the day, they want to be in charge of the data. So I would love to believe that they really care about us, but I think that money talks. So if they are not giving you the privacy, for example, Apple, why would Apple care if email service providers know that you opened up the email? They really don't care. It's just a matter of giving limitations to the other services so that they can win, and they can win this privacy war. So the open rates when it comes to email service providers, whether you're using ActiveCampaign, I'm sure you've heard of MailChimp, which is one of the most popular ones, MailerLite, Constant Contact, all of these, they measure who opened up your emails on a regular basis. And it used to be in the 20%. Now it's gone up because they are reading that Apple devices are opening up emails, which are the robots, without actually happening. So that's why you have to take this with a grain of salt, because it's still not perfect. And we still don't know exactly how many people are opening up your emails, but we get a more or less of an idea. Still, even if it's 25%, that's still a lot more than 2 to 6% of your Instagram reach. And I'm going to give you more numbers in the next slide. Okay. So that means that out of 100 subscribers, you can get 30 to 50 opens, if not more, depending on the email. On a welcome sequence, you're going to see that number be even higher. On an event invitation where you have the Zoom link, like the one we're in right now, if you got the Zoom link via email, you're going to see higher open rates, because obviously people are expecting to click on something. But on a regular newsletter, you might see a 1 to 3%, or even 2 to 5% click-through rate. So out of 100 subscribers, we're not talking we're not talking about 1,000 subscribers. You might actually get replies, 3 to 10%. So like 3 to 10% conversations via email. So you don't need as many followers as opposed to social media. Okay. Now we're going to talk about some numbers that I think are incredible. And this is really where you're going to see how attraction marketing comes together. We talked a little bit about the Instagram posts. TikTok, you get a lot more views on your TikTok just because of the way TikTok is created, because you're just scrolling, right? But a lot of them are passive views and there's very low conversions. Whereas on Instagram, you get a lot more engagement as opposed to TikTok. TikTok, you can have thousands of views and no action, no engagement. Whereas on Instagram, you might get 1 or 2 likes on thousands of views. It's a little bit more in an engaging platform. On X or Twitter, for every 1,000 followers, the people who see it for 10 to 30 impressions, which is again a 1 to 3%, and maybe 1 to 2 likes or no engagement. And again, obviously these are average numbers. It doesn't mean that everybody's following this, because if you are engaging with your audience, then obviously these numbers are going to increase. That's why attraction marketing is so important, to actually connect with people. And by connecting, I'm not just saying like their post and say hi. It's on a consistent basis, on a daily basis, where you're actually doing the work of getting to know them, of reaching out and saying hi. I really like your post. How did you come up with it? Or telling them, I really understood the concept that you were explaining here, but I have a question about this. Like, have conversations like you would with a normal person. It's not just about saying, hi, thanks for the content, bye. Like, you need to be engaging. You need to actually care about the person that you're talking to. And we talked about that in the previous class, right? So some of the platforms, some people might have maybe 1,000 followers, but they have high engagement because their content is amazing and because they're putting in the work engaging with people, and that's the key. Okay, so let's continue with a Facebook page. It's actually really low because it's 1 to 5%, because if you know how Facebook has evolved, and you're at the expense of Facebook. If you guys remember, a while ago there was something called Tasty, or some videos with food. And it was a Facebook page that was just producing all of these videos with food and producing a lot of views. And that went away very quickly, because the people that were watching the videos, even though there were a lot, they kind of disappeared, as Facebook now favors more groups and favors more, in your newsfeed. You're going to see more things about your friends on Facebook, and ads, obviously, than Facebook pages. So that's why that number is very low. And again, an occasional like or an occasional comment as well. On a LinkedIn post, the same thing. LinkedIn is a platform where you actually get more people to see your content. It's just a matter of how the platform kind of works. I think it's the amount of people that are on there and the competition. Because also LinkedIn, remember, is a business to business social media platform, right? So that's why it's a little bit different. Excuse me. And then when you have a YouTube channel, obviously depends on the channel, depends on the market and everything, but you might get 50 to 150 views. And it's mostly passive when it comes to the replies and the actions, because people are there to just watch videos. So a lot of it will depend on the call to action. But when you go look at email, for every 100 subscribers, so not even 1,000, right? You can get 30 to 50 opens, and these are average numbers for, you might have a company that has less than that, but even a 10% open rate, which in email marketing is supposed to be terrible, you're still getting more than in social media. So you might get 3 to 5 replies and direct 3 to 5 direct conversations with people. So why is email the smartest channel for attraction marketing, right? Well, email is not a backup plan. It's the best plan if you want visibility, if you want trust, if you want results without burnout, because all you have to do is write an email. And I'm going to show you right now the types of email that convert. Obviously, there's a lot more, like invitation emails for events or things like that. But this allows you to not have to worry about, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to give you 6 different types where you can use this one per day if you want to send an email per day, um, on a 5-day week. And then, you just take out of the 6, you take 5 of them. So the first one is a relatable story. One thing that will not change, whether we're talking about social media marketing, whether we're talking about email marketing, blogs, or whatever, people love stories. People love to go to movies, to watch movies. People love to go to the shows. Um, Movies in the hero's journey, if you remember, like pretty much every single movie that you watched is the hero's journey, right? The plot, like it starts telling you kind of like, who is the character, what are they like, and then they go through something dramatic, and then all of a sudden they come out and somebody helps them, and that's how we have our story, right? And people love drama. Look at TV. Look at this reality TV series. The more dramatic, the more people watch. The Bachelor or the Survivor ones, or all of these different types that people love to watch what people are doing. They love stories. So when you tell a story, it humanizes you. It shows them that you're a human being, and it builds trust with personal insights. You guys remember that we talked about trust? How nowadays it's something that a lot of people are afraid of trusting brands. They're afraid of getting it out there and buying something unless they look at reviews. Um, the reason is because they don't trust. It's because nowadays with Meta, it's changing a lot. Most of the stuff that you're seeing are ads as opposed to the content that you want to see, because that's how they make their money. So for it used to be you would see first on Meta, you would see a post of a friend the first time you will log into your news feed, and then one or two posts of maybe a group or something like that, and then you would see an ad. So the ad was, let's say, in position number 3 or number 4. Nowadays, it's almost at the top. So it's not necessarily something that people like, but because Meta is so big, that's how most of their ads work. And they want to target you with different types of ads to see what you like the most. And then once you click on something, they understand your interest. So they're gonna show you the same things. Like for example, I was just looking at somebody running a race here in Florida, and I got served an ad for a personal trainer for running. And I clicked on it, and I just was having a conversation because it was directly on Messenger. And all of a sudden I see more ads about running coaches, because now Meta knows that I'm interested in that. And they always test different things based on your organic views, and then they translate that over to paid. But what's important here is the trust value. And that's why I bring it up, because it's very hard right now to establish that trust. And stories is a great way to humanize you so that you tell them all about you. You're becoming the Kardashians, pretty much, of your own show, through email, through telling them stories, because people want to see that. You don't have to get dramatic, but people love stories. So that's very important. A quick win is also a great way, because it doesn't have to be something long. You can just deliver a fast value that builds authority with actionable tips. And that also helps you with building credibility so that they can get to know you more. So if you're realizing this, a lot of these that we're going over, you're not selling, you're not telling people to buy stuff right away. You're establishing the authority, you're establishing the relationship, you're asking people for stuff so that people can get to know you. Okay. Another one is a case study, because it builds more proof and the possibility with real results. And when you do this, people like to see what types of results have you gotten from someone. If you're selling a product, or if you're selling a service, it's more about, these are the people that bought my product or service, and this is what they did with it, and this is how successful they were able to use it. So by using case studies, you're not talking about yourself so much, you're also talking about stories about other people, which is something that people like to see. A market insight, because remember, if people wanted to get your emails, right? Because these are people that are opting into your email list. We're not talking about cold emails. We're not talking about buying lists. We're talking about getting people from social media from blogs or whatever to come into your to your email list. And they're gonna see you as an authority, as somebody who knows their stuff because they want to hear from you. So it's not something that was put in front of them. It's a little bit warmer. So when you're talking about a market insight, it elevates your voice with thought leadership. And that's very important because you are being allowed to share that information. So like, here's what shifted in April, May, whatever, June. Here's what to watch for the next quarter. Say, for example, and this can be for any market. You're a real estate professional. Things are happening right now where there's a lot more properties here in Florida that are for sale, for example, as opposed to where we were a few months ago. So being able to share that with your audience, it's important. People look at you because you do this on a 24/7 basis. So you should know your stuff. So share it with people. When it was time for the privacy update, I was emailing my people and letting them know, listen, take a look at your open rates right now because they're going to be changing dramatically and we don't know how exactly, but they're going to be changing dramatically once the update comes along with the Apple devices, because most people use Apple devices on their emails. So being able to share that news story is so important because they look up to you and they're not the ones doing the work. So by sharing this information is very important. And another one is an offer or an invitation. This is where you want to drive the action. And if you notice, there's one that is about offers because obviously you want to sell. I'm not saying that you shouldn't sell, but you also want to share value, whereas the other ones are more about giving value with stories, wins, case studies, market and news information. Here we're talking about clear call to action with, 2 strategy sessions spots that are left. Here's how to claim one. I'm having an event. I'm having a workshop. If you'd like to join, here's the link. So you're giving people an offer. You're giving people an invitation to be able to come to your events and get to know you more, or you're just selling stuff, which is fine. You want to sell, but you have to know when to sell and how often. Don't sell every single time. Establish the relationship, get people to know you and trust you, and then you can start to send emails that are about offers. And then another one is to add roundup or a resource list. Keep readers engaged with useful links to tools, ideas, and insights that they can use immediately. One of the quick ways to do this is with AI. Every single market has an AI tool that a lot of people don't know about. So, and AI is still huge, it's still gonna grow. So being able to give people these types of resources is great because it will allow you to, again, look up to yourself as an authority, right? So sharing this is what is important. So when do you use what? How do you choose? Well, remember we did research in the previous classes where we were looking for what people were asking. We were looking at what people are searching for online. Remember, Answer the Public. If you haven't seen that, we can do a demo if we have time. But basically, you're looking to see what are people looking for online and how can I be of service? So what do they want? What do they need? What are some of the challenges that they have? And answer that. You can answer that with a story. You can answer that with a win. You can talk about a case study. Like, for example, let's take weight loss. And something that happens to women is you have kids. It's very hard to lose the weight after having kids, right? That's something that people are always asking. So with that topic in mind, you know that they want to lose weight, right? And you know that they need something that they're going to be able to lose weight after having kids. So with that in mind, you can pick any of these emails that I've mentioned that, again, a story about how maybe you went through it, or a story about how it's hard to do this and you understand what they're going through because you're also a woman, or you have a sister or an aunt or anybody who told you the story about it and how you understand them. The key is to humanize you. So even if you're not a woman and you're working with women, you can still do it by talking about people that you know. A quick win. Oh, look, one of my clients, or if you don't have clients, you can talk about you, was able to lose 5 pounds after having kids. Listen, 5 pounds is a lot. And I know you guys are not in the US, but that's like 10, um, 10, no, 2.5 kilos. So something like that, right? Or a case study that builds proof and builds real results of somebody that you actually work with. It can be yourself, it can be your sister, whatever. So we're talking about weight loss for moms who have kids, And I'm showing you how to use that concept because you know that's what people want, and using it for different types of emails that you can use. Um, you can also use a market insight and give them statistics of you're not alone. It's okay. There are things that you can do to be more, to feel more alive, not necessarily directly to losing weight, but at least giving them that the news that you're not alone, and allows you to still show you as an authority figure. And then an offer, because if that's what you do, you definitely want to offer them an invitation to get on a strategy call, or buy a workshop or a challenge that you're doing with your audience, whatever it is, to lose weight. And then a resource list. Look, these are the foods that are going to help you lose weight, or some recipes that are going to help you. So all of this is building information, is building the momentum that you need, so that you can actually see how this small topic that we just took, we were able to apply it to the 6 types of emails that are going to convert in a different way. So that could be the topic for Monday. And then on Tuesday, you can talk about something else. And Wednesday, if you only email your audience once a week, that's okay too. Just be consistent and just pick one of the 6 emails that convert. So, and this doesn't matter if you have 100 people on your list, 50 people on your list, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, doesn't matter, or 1,000,000. They're all the same because you're writing the email once and you're sending it through your email service provider, where everybody's going to be getting these emails, okay? So you can also mix personal, practical, and promotional content throughout the month. So if you come up with a content calendar for the month, it's easier to see how many times you're offering something. And you want to be selling about 20% of the time, whereas 80% of the time you are really just giving value. And you can use patterns in behaviors with your call to action. You can ask people to reply. You can ask people to click. You can ask people to visit your social media channels. And email becomes a never-ending funnel. A funnel is something that takes you from A to B to C. When you come through, online, you can watch an ad, you can look at an ad, click on it, it's going to take you to a form, then a form is going to take you a calendar invite. So these are all funnels, right? So email becomes a never-ending funnel because you're always sending information, you're always giving people the value that they want and that they deserve, okay? I haven't gotten any questions so far, so I'm going to keep going. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to send them over, or, I mean, we can also leave the last 15 minutes for questions. Okay. So what happens once you have all of these people joining your list, right? Email isn't just about blasting your list, but it's about speaking to people at the right time in the right way. So you're not going to talk to somebody who maybe went through your program and graduated with honors, let's say, and they're pretty much way farther ahead than somebody who's just starting out. So that's why when it comes to email marketing, you can actually segment, which means to give them groups or different buckets or categories according to what you want to offer them. And for example, these are new subscribers. So you can do a segmentation of the new subscribers from, let's say, day 1 through day 90, so that they get these specific emails because they need to know more about, your business. Then you have your warm leads that you would talk to them a little bit differently. And that's why you want to invite them to book a little bit more often, to send them more DMs on social media if that's the case, or to really deepen the engagement. And then you have existing clients, people who have already been part of your list. And maybe you want to use those as case studies. Maybe you want to ask them what are some of the things that they can do to promote you. So all of this is not just getting people on your email list and just blasting information. It's actually giving them the respect to give them the information that they're looking for at the right time. Whereas on social media, you don't have that option. You don't have a lot of ways to segment. On Facebook, you can actually segment your friends based on the types of friends, of how they became your friends, but that doesn't happen everywhere. In fact, I think it's the only place where you can actually segment them and have different lists for them. I saw a hand up, but if I don't know who it was, if you're still here, let me know in the chat and I will, be able to answer your question. Okay. All
I
right.
believe it's Columbus and Gillespie. Columbus, if you want, just raise your hand again, and Mr. Lenhoff will allow you to ask your question or make your comment. So I can see the hand up again, and there we go. Go ahead, brother.
I hope you're hearing me.
Yes.
Uh, I have heard what the professor is talking about the emails, but the emails have a lot of challenge. Challenge like there are people who get a lot of emails,
Mm,
and sometimes when they are very many, it's very hard for them to read. And if
yeah.
they don't read, that means the message will not reach. That is one challenge. Then the other challenge that the emails have, it could go to a spam. You may send it, but it would, your intention would be that he reads it in focused emails, but later on it goes to a spam, and someone will tell you, "I have not received the email."
Yeah.
So I don't know
Okay.
how you deal with such challenges.
Okay, perfect. This is a great question. So you're right, you get a lot of emails. But if you realize, even if you don't open your emails, you're also able to see that people emailed you. So you're able to even see their name on your email inbox. So one of the reasons why you want to be consistent is because people are going to be expecting your email. And I don't know if you guys know James Clear, The Atomic Habits. He's a really famous author. He sends an email every Thursday that I look forward to because I know that's the day that he sends an email. So you want to establish that consistency once a week, twice a week, whatever you can do to give valuable emails and that people actually want to read them. So that's number one. Number two, when people opt into your list, they're expecting to say, they're saying, hi, I'm over here. Please say hi to me. A lot of times, you'll be surprised. I talk to many people about this. Email as businesses, they don't send a welcome sequence, not even one or two emails to say thank you for opting into my list. That's a big challenge because if you're not even saying hello back, what do you expect people to do once they're in your email list, right? Do you expect them to open up an email where you're not even saying hi back? That's ridiculous, right? So it's the same concept as, meeting somebody out for coffee and they're saying hi and you're just ignoring them. So you need to be consistent in your welcome sequence. Make sure that you have one, make sure that it's working properly, and also make sure that you are there for them all the time. Um, you talked about spam, and there's a lot of things you can do with so that your emails don't land on spam. This is called having a good domain authority, and your domain authority follows you everywhere you go. So let's say you have an account on MailChimp, but then you want to go to like ActiveCampaign. These are all email service providers that work pretty much the same way. What happens is people think that, because you weren't doing so well on MailChimp, then on ActiveCampaign, if you move your audience, it's going to work the same. And that's not the case. Your domain authority follows you everywhere. So there's a few things that you can do to be whitelisted. One of them is to get people to reply to your emails because it's like giving them points to this domain authority. If you are opening up an email, check. That's 1 point. If they read the email for a long time, boom, that's another point. Check. If they're replying to your email, that's like 2 points because that's somebody who is actually taking the time to reply to you so that you can start a conversation. And email service providers love this because they've realized that this is somebody that you want to talk to. It's like you're emailing a friend back and forth. That's another check. That's like 2 points. If they're clicking on your email, boom, another 2 points because that's even more important than opening up an email because you're clicking on it. So the more you do it, the better it is. And if you're starting at 0, by the time you get to 1,000, you're not going to have a problem with spam. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but the probability of you landing in spam is going to be low if you follow the right practices. There's also other things that you can do inside the email service provider so that you can become part of the promo, not part of the promo tab and get into that. But these are just basic things that if you provide awesome content every single time, you really take the time to create an incredible email and you really take the time to know what your audience wants, they're going to look forward to receiving that email. And you're not going to be one of many. You're going to be one of a few that people are expecting, like I do with James Clear every Thursday. So that is the key to really being able to do that. Now, I hope that answered your question, Columbus. And I think this is also going to help to kind of see how you do that, because you're right, creating an email every single week might sound easy, but I get it. We all have a lot of responsibilities, and email writing is not one of the things that people value or that people like to do on a regular basis. So I like to introduce a content repurposing strategy where you don't have to post every day. You don't have to email every day, but you have to come up with a core idea where you can take say a social post, a reel, a carousel, an X thought that you wanted to share, and with relatable captions, then use AI to repurpose it. You can take the transcript and have AI rewrite it as an email. You can actually tell people that you have this incredible reel and that you want to share it with them. So it's a very simple email. Hey guys, this week I want to share with you this incredible reel that I created. Click here to watch. Boom. That's it. End of the email. Something so simple can go a long way, because then you're training people to click, and you're getting people, and you're really being consistent. So with this repurposing strategy. Then you really want to just measure and adapt, use feedback, and refine your approach. So you're really able to kind of see what you can do so that you can not just use the same thing every time, but like, for example, if you have a 3-day content plan that, will help a lot of people because you shared this in social and it got a lot of views, people were messaging you on it. And you saw that that was very valuable to people on social, then bring it to your email. So you're always able to use the post that performed on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you posted it. And they often work as well on emails. But remember, not everybody sees your content on Instagram. So you can always test things that maybe didn't take off on Instagram and see what types of topics people really liked. And then you're able to bring them into your emails. So let's go into something that's important, that what matters. Yes, go ahead, Cece. You have your hand up. We can't hear you.
CC Jules,
Yes,
go ahead.
I'm just bringing a suggestion to the question.
Yes.
You know this kind of spam is a supervising learning function in machine learning in AI field. So you have the robot classifying whether the mail is spam or not, and it will class all the spam regarding the contents, maybe suspicious contents and so on, and classify it as spam. And the normal one where the contents are supposed to be very normal contents in the normal email. Just a suggestion I would like
Yes.
to provide.
Thank you. That's important. That's important. Of course. I think,
Yes.
based on what I mentioned, that's, you want to stay away from spam, especially now that things are getting, more robotic with AI. It's all about catching those things. And that's why you only sell 20% of the time, because you want to sound like a friend emailing a friend. Yeah. Ismail, you have a question as well.
Yes, I have a question. Good morning.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Yeah, my question
Hi.
is this. In what ways can inbox fatigue or oversaturation threaten the effectiveness of attraction marketing? And how can it be mitigated?
Yeah, that's a good question. It can be mitigated by staying consistent, by being able to coming up with valuable content every single time. A lot of times we get complacent and we think that just because you sent a good email this week, then you can slack off the next week, and it's not the case. You want people to know who you are. You want people to look forward to that, because yes, we get a lot of emails, all of us. I mean, I have hundreds of thousands of emails, and I don't really open a lot of them. But if I see something that I look forward to getting, then I'm not going to get tired of it. One of my mentors, our copywriting coach, used to email every single day. And I loved his emails because they were so intriguing and interesting. And he came up with really interesting thoughts that are really actionable. So I was looking forward to those emails for years. All of a sudden he stopped. And I was like, what happened? Like, why did you stop? But did you know that out of his email list of like 600 people, which is not a lot, but they were but his open rates were really high, above a 50% every single time. And nobody emailed him except for only 2 people when he stopped emailing, but people thought where he went, right? So you're not always going to see the numbers, and you're not always going to know what people are thinking or what people are doing. And that's why it's important to come up with value every single time and connect with your audience. Ask them for replies, get on calls with them, find out what they want so that you can really get really good emails every single time. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Che Amancho. We're listening to you, Amancho. Ms. Lenhoff, I would recommend that you continue with your presentation, please.
Sure. Okay, so what do we look at and what metrics matter when we're looking at all of this, right? Well, the follower count, I just showed you that, it's not always the case when you have a lot of followers that you get a lot of people in your inbox or a lot of views. That doesn't always happen, right? Likes are great, but that doesn't always happen, and that doesn't always mean that people want to see more of your content. Views and going viral without a system, you don't want to do any of that. What really matters are open rates. How many people are actually taking advantage of your inbox, of your emails, and opening up their emails in their inbox. Click-through rates, because these are actions that people are doing. Reply rates and revenue per 100 subscribers, because if you can track what is your revenue for, say, 100 subscribers, then you can actually have a forecast how much we would make with 1,000 subscribers if they're the same type of audience and the same type of emails that you're sending. And here's a quick action plan. Very easy, because I really want you guys to take advantage of this, even if you don't have a lot of people on your email list, even if you don't have a business and you want to start something as a passion, a hobby that you like, say, for example, running, say, for example, knitting, something that you can use to even monetize later on, because there's a lot of things that you can do with attraction marketing. It doesn't have to be necessarily a business with millions of dollars in revenue. It can be somebody who wants to make a few extra bucks every month. So once you have your market, choose your format. Pick one email type to try this week and actually send it out. I don't care if only your mom and your brothers and sisters are on your email list. Get consistent and get into the habit of seeing what they want so that you can use that in the future when you have a lot more subscribers. Repurpose your content. Turn one post into an email or vice versa. You can, nowadays with AI, there's no excuse. You can repurpose your content in a lot of different ways so that you can be consistent. Define your call to action. Ask readers to reply, to click, to download, to book, because the more you train your audience to click, to take an action on your emails, they're going to be looking for it once you're actually selling something. So if you just send out information out there and that's all you're doing, that's fine. But once you get the call to action and you get people to actually do something once you're reading the email, you're training your audience to click. And once you have an offer or you really want to sell something, they're going to be looking for that. And establish consistency. Commit to sending one email per week, 2 times a week, 3 times, whatever it is that you can do on a consistent basis. If you want, write all of the emails at once for the whole month so that you're done. Okay? And here's some final words of encouragement. You don't need to be everywhere. Please don't think that attraction marketing is doing everything at all the time. That you need to do this because that's the only way that you're going to be successful. Just pick one if that's the case. And you can also repurpose the content when the time is right. But if you don't have time to repurpose right now, just do one post a day or one post a week, whatever you can do. And then slowly, once you have a habit established, then you're able to do more. You need to just be remembered. And that really starts on the inbox. Get people to join your email list in different ways. And email is not a backup plan. It is the best plan for visibility, trust, and results without burnout, because you own the rights to send people emails. You own the option of going from MailChimp and taking your list to going to another email service provider, because the people that opted into your list said, I want to be receiving emails from you. whereas other types of attraction marketing principles doesn't allow you to do that. So with that being said, we have 8 more minutes left. I would love to answer more of your questions.